Let me take you on a journey not into some dusty philosophical debate, but into the very engine room of what moves humanity. We ask, is money the root of all evil? Pause. A loaded question, crafted to ignite fear. But here's the truth: money isn't evil. It's a mirror. It reflects our intention. And before you dismiss that as rhetoric, ask yourself, when money turned destructive, was it the notes and coins at fault, or the heart that wielded them? You hear it all the time, like a tired echo passed down through generations. Money is the root of all evil. It rolls off the tongue so easily, as if the phrase itself is a moral truth carved into the walls of civilization. But stop, think, really think, is it money, or is it what money reveals? Because here's the contrast that nobody dares to say out loud: money is not the disease, it is the diagnosis. If you put a magnifying glass over anything, you don't create the truth, you amplify it. That's money. It takes the good in you and stretches it to fill the room. It takes the darkness in you and paints it across the sky for the world to see. If you are generous, wealth gives you reach. If you are cruel, wealth gives you power. And then we, the spectators, stand in judgment of the tool, not the wielder. We blame the fire for the arsonist, never the match in their hand. We curse the blade for the wound, never the one who chose to strike. And yet here we are, comfortable pointing fingers at currency paper, metal, digital numbers, as though it could act of its own will. The contrast is stark. People romanticize poverty as virtuous and demonize wealth as corrupt, as if lack is inherently moral and abundance inherently sinful, that thinking has kept generations small, silent, and dependent. Money has no conscience. It does not wake up in the morning plotting the downfall of nations. It is not hiding in vaults whispering schemes to topple empires. Money is a mute servant, following orders from whoever holds it. And here's where the provocation cuts deep. If you believe money corrupts, it says more about what you think you'd do with it than about money itself. It exposes the fear you have of your own potential excess. History has always been a ledger of contrasts. The same wealth that funds wars also builds hospitals. The same fortunes that buy private jets also finance clean water for villages. Which side of the page you land on depends not on the size of the bank account, but on the moral compass of its holder. And yet, we are far more comfortable accusing the tool than interrogating the hands that grip it. You see, it's easier to create a villain out of something faceless. That way, we don't have to examine ourselves. We can pretend that if we never become rich, we will remain pure. That's the lie. Poverty doesn't automatically make you noble, and wealth doesn't automatically make you wicked. There are poor tyrants and rich humanitarians. There are beggars with cold hearts and billionaires with open ones. The difference is not in the coin, it's in the character. When you strip the conversation down to its bones, money is simply permission. Permission to extend your influence, to scale your reach, to turn your thoughts into reality. It's an amplifier, nothing more, nothing less. If you are selfish, your selfishness grows. If you are generous, your generosity multiplies. And this is the truth we don't teach our children. Money is neutral. It bends to the will of the one who commands it. So, here's the uncomfortable challenge. Stop blaming the tool for the craftsman's failure. Don't despise wealth simply because it exposes what is already within. Instead, sharpen your inner character so that when abundance comes, and it will, it becomes an instrument for creation, not destruction. When you hear the phrase money is the root of all evil, remember that it's incomplete. The real phrase, stripped of its cultural laziness, is this: the love of money above all else is the root of all kinds of evil. That's not about the paper. That's about obsession, about placing it above principle, above humanity, above self-respect. The contrast couldn't be sharper. One person uses wealth to enslave, another uses it to liberate. One uses it to silence voices, another uses it to amplify them. One uses it to hoard, another to invest in the dreams of others. So, which one are you? The day you stop fearing what money will turn you into and start preparing for what you will do with it is the day you shift from blaming the mirror to owning the reflection. Because in the end, money does not change you, it simply makes you more of what you already are. And if that thought makes you uncomfortable, maybe it should. Accountability is a word we love to throw around, as long as it's aimed at someone else. It's easy to demand it from leaders, from companies, from governments. But when the mirror turns toward us, Suddenly, the room gets quiet. Suddenly, we start finding excuses. And that's where the whole conversation about money gets distorted, because deep down, we don't want to admit the uncomfortable truth. The way we use money is a reflection of who we are, and we alone are responsible for it. We live in a time where blame has become a currency of its own. People trade it back and forth every day. It's the system's fault. It's the economy. It's the government. It's the rich. And while there may be fragments of truth in these statements, they become dangerous when they replace personal agency. Because here's the thing: you cannot outsource responsibility for your own life. The moment you do, you also outsource your power. Money is one of the most effective tests of personal responsibility. It will reveal whether you are a steward or a squanderer. And the test isn't only in how you spend it, it's also in how you earn it. Are you building something of value? Are you solving problems? Or are you chasing shortcuts, hoping for the quick win, the easy grab? The path you choose tells the world everything it needs to know about your character. There's a reason why two people can start with the same amount of money and end up in entirely different worlds within a few years. One invests, learns, and builds. The other spends, blames, and waits for the next handout. The difference isn't luck, it's agency. It's the decision to take control instead of waiting to be rescued. And here's the provocation. If you don't like how money behaves in your life, it's not the money that needs to change. It's you. You don't fix a crooked picture by blaming the frame, you adjust your own hands and straighten it. Yet too often we'd rather stay crooked and call it fate. That's not fate, that's avoidance. Accountability means asking yourself hard questions without sugarcoating the answers. Why am I in this position? What did I do or fail to do to get here? And before you point to circumstances, understand this: life will always throw challenges your way. You don't get to control the weather, but you do control the ship. If you run it into the rocks, the storm isn't the only thing to blame. Money, in this context, is both a tool and a test. Give a man with discipline $1,000, and he will turn it into an investment. Give the same amount to a man without discipline, and he will turn it into debt. The variable is not the amount, it's the accountability. It's the willingness to say, I am the reason for my results. Not my parents, not my boss, not the market me. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your input. You can control the effort, the learning, the strategy. You can control how you respond when things go wrong. Accountability is not about never failing. It's about owning your failures so fully that you can also own your victories. When you look at the most successful builders, innovators, and wealth creators, they share one trait in common. They do not wait for permission to act. They understand that no one is coming to save them. They understand that agency is not given, it's taken. And because they take it, they also take responsibility for the consequences, good or bad. So ask yourself, are you living as the author of your story, or as a character waiting for someone else to write your next chapter? If you are waiting, you've already surrendered your agency. And without agency, even if money falls into your lap, you won't keep it. Because you'll always believe it was someone else's job to manage it. Someone else's fault if it's lost. The truth is simple but heavy. You can't control money until you control yourself. And you can't control yourself until you accept that every choice you make has a price, and you alone will pay it. That's accountability. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. But it's the only way to ensure that when opportunity knocks, you're not standing there with excuses instead of results. If that sounds harsh, good. Harshness wakes people up. Because until you take complete ownership over your time, your decisions, your outcomes, you will always be at the mercy of someone else's control. And then, whether you have money or not, you'll still be poor in the one resource that matters most. The power to shape your own life. There comes a moment in every serious thinker's life where they stop asking easy questions and start wrestling with the ones that claw at the core of human existence. The kind of questions that don't just sit neatly in your mind but echo through your bones. And one of them is this: what truly drives civilization forward? Is it the pursuit of money, the love of humanity, or something else entirely? The uncomfortable truth is that money by itself has never moved the world. It is human intention, the philosophy behind the act, that shapes history. Money is simply the fuel. The destination is chosen by the driver. That's why two people can hold the same resource in their hands and build two completely different worlds. It's not the possession that defines the outcome. It's the principle. Think about the framework laid out in great works of literature, where characters are not mere players but embodiments of ideals. Atlas Shrugged is not just a story, it's a philosophical battleground. It dares to ask, should the creators of value be bound to the demands of those who create nothing? Should the mind that builds be chained to the hand that takes? That question alone is a mirror, and many are afraid to look into it because it challenges the morality we've been taught since childhood. We have been raised to see wealth with suspicion, to look at the successful and assume their gain is someone else's loss. This is the zero. Some illusion the belief that one man's victory must be another's defeat. But creation doesn't work that way. Ideas don't diminish when shared, they multiply. Innovation doesn't steal from the world, it expands it. The creator is not your enemy, the parasite is. And here's where the depth cuts through the surface noise. Money is not an origin point. It is the byproduct of value. You do not wake up in the morning and make money. You make decisions, you solve problems, you serve needs, and money follows as a ledger of that exchange. It is not an entity to be worshipped or feared. It is the language of trade, the punctuation mark at the end of a sentence written in action. When you strip away the myths, money becomes something far less mystical and far more honest. It doesn't ask for loyalty. It doesn't care about feelings. It follows one simple law. It flows to where it is valued and protected. This is why it gravitates toward those who understand creation, innovation, and discipline, and why it slips away from those who only chase it without building anything worth sustaining. The philosophy here is not that money is good or bad, but that it is a precise reflection of the ecosystem it exists in. In a society that rewards merit, money becomes a token of excellence. In a society corrupted by favoritism and coercion, money becomes the reward for manipulation. But in both cases, it's still just the mirror. You change the system, you change the reflection. You change nothing, and the reflection will show you exactly what you are. This is where the great divide lies, between those who see wealth as a tool of empowerment and those who see it as a justification for resentment. The former understands that building value is not theft. The latter hides behind moral outrage as an excuse for inaction. One philosophy says, I will create and exchange. The other says, I will take and demand. Which one wins determines the fate of nations. So, when we engage in this endless debate over whether money is evil, we are missing the deeper question. The question is, what moral framework governs the use of that money? If the principle is creation, the results will lift everyone. If the principle is destruction, it will rot the foundation from within. The dollars, the gold, the figures on the screen, they don't care. They simply obey the philosophy of the holder. Civilization has always been driven forward by those willing to build even when the crowd mocked them, even when the parasites drained them, even when the weight of the world rested on their shoulders. The tragedy is not that some have money and others don't. The tragedy is that so many have the ability to create value and never exercise it, choosing instead to stand on the sidelines, debating whether the prize itself is pure. The lesson is timeless. Don't fear the tool. Fear the philosophy that wields it, because that is what will decide whether wealth becomes a weapon or a lifeline, a chain or a key. And when you understand that, you stop asking the shallow question, is money the root of all evil? And start asking the profound one, what kind of world am I building with the tools in my hands? Look around you. Forget the theories for a moment. Forget the quotes from books. Let's talk about what you can see, touch, and feel in the world right now. You don't need to be an economist to notice how money shapes lives every single day. The grocery store, the fuel pump, the rent notice on the door, these are not abstract ideas. They're reminders that money is woven into the fabric of our daily reality. And how we respond to that reality says everything about the mindset we live by. Take two entrepreneurs in the same city, facing the same market conditions. One looks at the economy and sees only danger, rising costs, fierce competition, unpredictable customers. They tighten their belt, slow down their efforts, and wait for the storm to pass. The other sees the exact same conditions and spots opportunity. Customers looking for alternatives, competitors too scared to adapt, new needs emerging out of the chaos. They push harder, innovate faster, and capture the very market the first one abandoned. The difference isn't the economy. It's the lens they choose to see it through. This is the reality money rewards those who act decisively in uncertainty. It doesn't have patience for hesitation. The moment you start waiting for perfect conditions, someone else is already taking the risk and reaping the reward. And when you later complain about inequality, remember that the gap wasn't created in that moment of profit. It was created in that earlier moment of indecision. Think about the job market. 2 employees start in the same entry-level position. One treats it as a paycheck, doing only what is asked, watching the clock, avoiding any responsibility that isn't spelled out in the job description. The other treats it as a platform, taking on challenges, learning new skills, building relationships, becoming indispensable. Fast forward 3 years. One is still waiting for a raise that reflects their value. The other has tripled their income and moved into leadership. Did money choose one over the other? No. Opportunity simply responded to preparation and initiative. Money has a way of rewarding clarity and punishing vagueness. When you're clear about the value you bring, you start to notice opportunities that were invisible before. When you're vague, you don't even see the open doors, let alone walk through them. This is not just theory, it's why some people can enter the same industry as you, with the same resources, and produce results that look like magic. It's not magic, it's intentional action multiplied over time. Even in personal life, the principle is undeniable. Look at how people handle unexpected income. A tax refund, a bonus, a sudden inheritance. One group sees it as a ticket for immediate gratification, a new phone, a trip, something shiny to post online. Another sees it as a seed to plant, paying off debt, investing, acquiring skills, starting a side business. Years later, the gap between those choices is not a crack, it's a canyon, and here's the uncomfortable part: these decisions are not made in a vacuum. They're shaped by your beliefs about money. If you believe money is fleeting, you'll treat it recklessly, as if it's supposed to disappear. If you believe money is a tool for growth, you'll hold it differently, use it strategically, and make it work for you. That belief will show in your reality. Globally, the pattern repeats. Countries that reward innovation and productivity tend to create wealth for more people over time. Countries that punish ambition and glorify dependency stagnate. This isn't about ideology. It's about results you can measure. The real-world lesson is clear. When a society or an individual treats money as something shameful, scarce, or suspicious, they will create conditions where it becomes all three. In your own life, the relevance of this conversation is unavoidable. Every purchase, every investment, every hour you trade for a paycheck is a vote for the kind of financial reality you want to live in. If you're not conscious of those votes, you are still shaping a reality, just not the one you want. So stop pretending that money is a distant concept only relevant to them. It's in your hands right now, in the smallest and largest decisions you make. The world doesn't need another person blaming the economy, the system, or the unfairness of life. The world needs more people who can look at the chaos, spot the opportunity, and act before the window closes. That's how relevance turns into results. Because in the real world, it's not the loudest complainers or the most polished critics who shape the future. It's the doers, the ones who take whatever resources they have, whether it's a fortune or a single dollar, and use them to create something that wasn't there before. That's where money finds its true purpose. And that's where you'll find yours. There comes a point in every conversation where talk has to stop and action has to begin. That point is now. Because all the ideas, all the perspectives, all the clever quotes about money mean nothing if they don't change the way you move from this moment forward. Understanding without action is just intellectual entertainment. It makes you feel smart but leaves you exactly where you started. So let's strip this down. You already know that money is not inherently evil. You already know it's a tool, a magnifier of character, a neutral servant. You know that agency is yours to claim and accountability is yours to hold. You've seen in the real world that those who act boldly get ahead while those who hesitate fall behind. The only question left is, what are you going to do about it? Waiting is not a strategy. Wishing is not a strategy. Complaining definitely isn't a strategy. If you want money to be a force for good in your life, you have to start building something that deserves to be funded. You can't just want wealth. You have to create value so undeniable that wealth has no choice but to find you. And that starts with taking the smallest, most deliberate step you can take right now. Not next week. Not next year. Now, for some of you, that step is finally starting the business you've been talking about for years. For others, it's taking control of your spending, not because budgeting is glamorous, but because discipline is the foundation of freedom. Maybe for you it's investing in your own skills so that the marketplace has to pay more for your time. Whatever it is, the step is yours, and no one is going to take it for you. Here's the hard truth. No one is coming to save you. Not the government, not your boss, not some miraculous windfall. And if by some chance a rescue does appear, it will come with strings you can't cut. The only sustainable rescue is the one you engineer for yourself. That's not harsh, that's empowering. Because if it's in your hands, it's in your control. And control is the point. Money is not power in itself, control over money is. When you control where it goes, how it grows, and what it serves, you are no longer a bystander in your own financial story. You become the author. And authors don't sit around waiting for someone else to write their ending. So here's your call. Stop shrinking from opportunity because you're afraid of the responsibility that comes with it. Stop hiding behind the myth that wealth will change you for the worse. If you are committed to staying true to your values, money will only give you more ways to express them. But you will never know until you step into the arena and play at the level where money flows. The world does not reward potential. It rewards execution. No one gets paid for ideas that stay in notebooks. You get rewarded for the ideas you bring to life, the problems you solve, the risks you take that others are too afraid to face. That's where the real return is. That's where you transform from a passive critic of the system to an active architect of your own future. And don't think for a second that you have to wait until you have everything figured out to start. Action creates clarity. The path is revealed as you walk it. Every delay in action is a delay in clarity, a delay in growth, a delay in the life you could be living. So decide today not to think about it, not to do more research, but to take a step. Any step that moves you closer to creation and further from complacency. Because once you start moving, momentum will take over. And when momentum is on your side, money starts to follow. You have one life. One shot. You can spend it debating whether money is the root of all evil, or you can spend it proving with your actions that money in the hands of a principled, determined, disciplined person can be a force for massive good. That choice is yours, and the clock is ticking. The time for theory is over. Build, act, create. Make your mark so boldly that no one ever dares to say you were at the mercy of money, because money was always at the service of your mission. That is how you turn understanding into legacy. So here's where we stand. Money is not the villain. The villain is apathy. The villain is resignation. The villain is asking, is money evil? Instead ask, am I using my means, my mind, my resources, towards creation? Now rise, craft, innovate. Don't bow to the narrative that wealth is wicked. Make wealth workable for you and for humanity. In the echo of Atlas shrugging, choose to build. Choose to redefine what's possible. And let that be your legacy.